And I'm so thrilled to be joined by Father Frank Pavone here at the Turning Point Act.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
And your audience.
No, I know. It's always great to see you. Now, we were just speaking a few moments ago about the law, the heartbeat law,
Yes.
that was recently passed in Iowa. Can you give us some of the ramifications?
Well, this is one of the increasingly popular laws for the pro-life movement to protect babies at the point when a heartbeat is detected. Most people are in favor, but at the same time, most people don't realize how early the heartbeat starts to beat. By 21 days after a baby is conceived, long before we could even detect it, that heart starts beating. So by the time we can detect it, which is about 6 weeks into the pregnancy measured by the last menstrual period, that heart has already beat over 1 million times. So it's not unreasonable to say, well, if somebody passes out, we check for a pulse. Is their heart still beating? Heartbeat is a sign of life. So why shouldn't we consider a heartbeat starting to beat as a sign of life pulse? It's not extraneous to say we should protect children as early as their life begins. So Iowa has joined a number of other states. Florida was one of the more recent ones to do this too, where I live, where they say, okay, if a doctor can detect a heartbeat, that baby needs to be protected rather than killed. What impresses me about what happened in Iowa was that the governor, Kim Reynolds, called a special session of the legislature to deal with. And what I like about that is, many lawmakers are afraid of the issue. They want to run away from it. Or if their legislative body introduces something on abortion, we saw this happen in the Congress, at the federal level, and they'll say, well, why are we bringing up this abortion stuff? Like here in Iowa, you've got them coming together for a special session. It shows the urgency of this issue because life is the most fundamental right that we have.
Well, I know how strongly you feel on this issue, but I have to ask, what are the political ramifications and what's the pushback that you're getting?
Well, it's just going to differ from state to state, obviously, and it's a complicated matter to say, well, where is the entire country? And that's why, I'm a supporter of President Trump, but we have a lot of other great people on our side of the aisle, of course. And, we respect people's judgments about who they want to support in the primaries. But, President Trump has been saying, look, let's see, we've got more negotiating power now than we ever have had. And thanks to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So politically, we ask a simple question. Should the people be deciding this issue in the way they see best, using the legislative process, battling it out, persuading one another, having hearings, really probing, who is this baby in the womb? What does abortion do to the baby? What does abortion do to the mother and to other members of the family? And what's good for our country when it comes to this? And President Trump and many of the other people in office or seeking office will say, look, we've got a legislative process in this country. Let's use it. As opposed to two things. One, unelected judges deciding policy for us. That's not American. The courts are there to resolve disputes, not to replace the lawmakers in setting policy. Abortion has been hijacked by the courts for 50 years. So the overturning of Roe v. Wade should not be seen just as a victory for the pro-life side. It should be seen as a victory for the American people. Because those that want legalized abortion, hey, make your case. And if you can convince your lawmakers, the Dobbs decision is not standing in your way. Some states have done this. They've expanded abortion.
And I think that's something that gets missed in this conversation. Women, and there are a lot of women in our audience who are pro-choice.
Yes.
And so I think if you can help explain to them what are the laws as they exist, because people are under the impression that it was turned and you can't get abortion.
Well, no, you can. We have a very divided country right now because we've got a number of states, a good 14, 15 states, have stepped up and said, look, we're going to protect these babies from the time that their lives begin because we believe abortion is killing the baby and also it's harming the mother. Other states have gone in the opposite direction. We've just seen in Maine, for example, and we have states like, Colorado and, of course, New York, California, New Jersey, Vermont, where they've got unlimited abortion. And it's like, okay, Dobbs said you could go either way. So it's a hodgepodge of different laws and policies from state to state. And of course, our legislators at the federal level are very divided on this as well. What the court is saying to us, and this goes into the political dynamics that you're asking me about, is, hey, American people, you are wiser than we are. We 9 justices, we're not going to presume to have the answer to this question. There's strong arguments out here. People feel very passionately both ways. We respect everybody with their opinions on these things. We want to help everybody think this through. And here's the starting point I think that we need to take. What is good for that woman? Many of those who like to say in our audience, we're able to say, I'm pro-choice. Okay, what are we looking for here ultimately? We're looking for what's good for that young mom who feels, I don't know what to do about my pregnancy. Is abortion going to help her, or is abortion going to hurt her? And the other piece of the equation is, who is that child growing within her? And here's what the other piece of the puzzle politically. As I said, one question is, do we want the courts deciding this, or do we want to decide? And the other piece of the puzzle is this. We're not the extremists, the Democrats are. And what I mean by that is, they have, as some of these states that are blue states have shown us, they want literally unrestricted abortion. I mean, to the American people, even those of our friends watching us now who say they're pro-choice, they don't mean, for the most, that they want a healthy mother carrying a healthy baby to be able to abort that baby in the 6th month of pregnancy, or the 7th or 8th or 9th. That's not what they mean by saying pro-choice. They want it usually in very limited circumstances, far more limits than most laws now permit. So the question then becomes, how extreme do we want to be? And we have to talk about it politically, and I think the candidates more and more are going to talk about it politically as, we're not the extremists. We are the compassionate, reasonable people who understand what those on the other side don't seem to understand. What they do when they address the abortion issue is they take two pieces of the equation here, two sides of the debate. What are the rights of the woman? What are the rights of the child? And they resolve it, or pretend to resolve it, by just dropping out of the equation one of the two parts. They don't even mention the child. If you look, for example, at how President Biden addressed the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision when it first came out over a year ago, he gave like a 15-minute speech, right? Didn't even mention the unborn child. In the Dobbs decision, the majority of justices who overruled Roe v. Wade said the dissent in this case is striking for its complete disregard of any interest or motive the state might have to protect that life growing within that woman. How can you resolve this by just dropping out of the equation half of the issue, half of the debate? I mean, you can resolve any debate by just saying, okay, there's two competing ideas here. Let's just make believe one of them doesn't exist.
Well, I
can solve any problem.
And that's the thing. We just want to have a debate. We want to have a conversation because I don't think all of these women who are pro-choice are necessarily
And many of them will say that. Yes. They'll say exactly that. Hey, being pro-choice is not for abortion. No, it's not that they think it's a good thing. It's not that they want more abortion, right? And this is where they need to distinguish themselves from the politicians who actually are saying that. We have too many politicians who are actually saying, yes, we want more abortion. Yes, it's a good thing. And yet you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
We would ask those who are pro-choice respectfully, okay, we understand. You think that abortion should be illegal ops, but do you want to pay for it? You want to pay for somebody else's abortion? And most Americans who are even pro-choice will say, no, I don't. Well, then ask your candidates. They're asking for your vote. Ask them, are you going to try to force me to pay for someone else's abortion? Is that what the Democrats are doing right now?
Well, Father, thank you so much for having such a great conversation, honest conversation.
About such an important topic.
Absolutely.
Thanks for covering it.
Once again, at the TP Action Conference in West Palm. Thank you so much, Father Frank Pavone.
Thank you. My pleasure.